We'll just go ahead and start our meeting today. I see why it's not working. All right, never mind. Hope I can read my notes. Everybody got a copy of the agenda so you can remind me what the next item is? Because there we go. Anyway, I'm tired of rain. So I'm fed up with it. And I'm sure the bees are tired of it. You know, they much more rather be sucking this nectar down and getting it into the hives than bothering trying to run around raindrops.
Yeah.
So in any case, Mickey and I are safe for another year. Okay? We got inspected. We got it all looked good for the most part. I think we had maybe a couple of minor things, but you know, most hives will have a little bit of chalk brood at this time of year. They'll have a little bit of viruses in them. Okay, if you see a white larva in there with its little tip sticking out and it doesn't look like a real bee, doesn't look like a real larva, that's probably one of those viruses they get this time of year. Okay, with a honey flow, that goes away. So, lots of bees, lots of nectar, then that particular virus will be non-existent. So those are the only two things I had in my hive, and I'm sure Mickey had about the same. But they, it went pretty good this year. He didn't make me open every hive that I had. So last year he had me opening every hive and going through each one of them. So I guess he knows us now, so maybe it's a little easier. So I will have nukes probably by the end of, strong nukes by the end of this month, okay, but right now they're not doing so well because I think they need to get out a little more, okay, get out, and they're making their own queens, so we'll see how that goes. Those Florida queen cells I got were not worth the money I spent, so hopefully next year I won't time them. Maybe I'll time them a little better, or I won't get Florida ones. So if you want to know about queen cells, we can talk about that later. In any case, I can also tell you who not to buy them from. So, yeah. We did send out some club photos. TBA's got a Hive Tool newsletter. You might see yourselves in some of those. I believe I see some faces in here that were on the pictures that we sent. So hope we don't offend anybody because their faces are in these things. But this was pictures about the swarm traps buildings, and we had also a few other pictures.
The dam.
The dam pictures, okay, where we had an inspection, or we all went out and looked at them one time. What was that?
I want to see them damn pictures.
Yeah, well, those damn bees need a little bit of looking at too, because every time I want to get out to get to them, it rains. So I'm gonna hell or high water. I'm gonna go out tomorrow and see what they're doing. Yeah, I'm gonna slap a box of sugar cakes on them. You know, if nothing else, because they're out of food. At least they didn't have any, so. We want to make sure they get something. In any case, coming up here soon is the master beekeeping classes are open for enrollment. They have one down in Spring Hill, right? Spring Hill. It's, I didn't write the dates down, but it's $125 for a 2-day class for master beekeeping class. I believe that's one of the prerequisites to being a hive inspector, or to taking the hive inspector course. So you might want to consider going to that if you have that on your desires in the future, is to take that hive inspection class. Mike's still working with me on the dates, getting information out of him, and Jennifer Saruta it's a bear, okay? You can't talk to anybody who's got the information. They don't have the information on their website. I was looking at all what the prerequisites were for attending a master beekeeping, inspector class. Can't find it anywhere. So if anybody knows that information, throw it out there. Okay? So hopefully, I got Ronnie Barron. He's the only one that answered my phone call. And without his, in Mike's case, you call him and his goes to voicemail and it's full. So I'm feeling a little bitchy today, so that's why trying to call somebody and get some information from them is getting to be a pain sometimes. So I want to go to that class. I think it's in July. That one that's on the web.
13th.
Huh?
I think it's at 12th and 13th
Of July.
We've already signed. Yeah.
You're signed up?
Yeah.
Anybody else signed up for that class?
I did.
Yep. Okay, good. Because I did write Mike an email that said I've got people who are coming to it, and I'd like to make sure that they that you have that information available. Anyway. Okay, so at least with the master beekeeping classes, you don't have any prerequisites. You can just go straight out and go to the classes and learn a little bit. I'm pretty sure with 2 days you're going to learn a lot. And
I would imagine.
I would hope. The website is epp.tennessee.edu/masterbee. It's on the agenda list that we gave you. So if you haven't done so and you want to, that'd be the place to go. This last, our club purchased some used equipment and new equipment actually from a beekeeper who passed away. And unfortunately, the family wanted to get rid of all the equipment, so we purchased it as a lot. And we have a list of the things that are available for sale. And we kind of try to like to make a little money for the club because I've got to pay Robin back. Okay, it's already taken care of. So there's a list of items, and you guys have that passed around? So if you see it, there's some things haven't even been used. The fellow passed away from COVID in February or January, and so, and he was single, so they had, Robin, you want to add the name of the gentleman? I don't know.
Somebody in here might know him. He was Rackin' to the rescue. He was a handyman, a drummer. He'd been on Grand Ole Opry and that kind of stuff. But his name was Rackin' Roth. He lived in Cheatham. And he had 2 hives. And he had just, brand new extractor. He just got it. He had died before he got to use it. So, and there's a bucket with the spigot, a 5-gallon bucket with the spigot, and some of his other stuff.
Half of a bee suit and a veil and gloves, and they're extra large and extra large. And
The gloves were good.
the gloves were really nice. Okay, so
Maybe we should sit on this, Chris, for a few minutes before we pass it around, just to get prices on here.
well, the prices there are what we paid, and we kind of like to add just some uptick on each one of them.
Sorry how much you'll pay for.
For
We're
the
gonna
club.
auction these off tonight. And not very silent auction. The extractors. You have some information about the
The
extractor?
tractor, it's a crank. It's in the truck. If you go to, we can get all the stuff
Okay.
in here if people are really interested. It's a manual one, and I can tell you, I looked it up there. We looked it up because I didn't know, and it was $133 online.
Okay. So silent auction for your name and how much you want to pay for it.
There you go. That'll take care of it.
If you want to see any of it, I could go get it.
Now, some of those are, there's box of frames, 10,
It didn't say what,
did,
this is what we paid for it.
none of the equipment that the bees were in is on that list, so just be aware of that.
No, it's
because
all in the back of the truck.
It's on the back of the truck.
They gave all of the 2 beehives that were set in there, they gave us all of that. Just gave it to us. So it's 10 frame boxes, deeps and mediums, with hives, with the frames and boxes and everything.
So I just,
And so,
you know, for your own sake, those have to be set away from your beehives, at least 2 miles, I would think, and put bees in them before you can actually get them, you know, inspected to make sure that they don't have any diseases. But the guys, the bees went into winter healthy, and like some hives, you just lose them. So I think-
he got sick in November with the flu, and he really never recovered, and then he came in with COVID late December, and he died in January.
Oh,
So his bees just didn't have time to get taken care of. He had no kids, you know, his family, his brothers don't live close, that's all he has.
But in any case, some of those are good prices, and we'll just put down what you're willing to pay for it if you want it, and get it. And let me tell you, one thing about being president is you always get everybody who passes away, all their equipment seems to be passed on to you. So I'm sure I could come up with a bunch of equipment that and we could try this again, is what I'm trying to say. Or they get out of beekeeping. You know, a lot of people get out of beekeeping not knowing why their bees died, or not investigating further what they can do to keep them alive over the winter. So that's why you're here. So hopefully we're helping y'all do that, and if we're not, you tell us. And let's see. You can now pay your annual dues online. This is the last month for $10. Last month for $10. Last month for $10.
Once, twice.
It's going up to 20 next month. Going once, going twice. In any case, I'll hold it up to my lips, that way you can get it into the, you might want to tone it down just a little bit. Social media. In any case,
Sorry, what was it? I was just looking for.
let's talk, I'm gonna change the order of things a little bit, because our next speaker is not here yet, that I see. So, let's talk about what you're doing with your hives right now. Is anybody splitting? Raise your hand.
Well, I've got 4 that are marked to split. I'm waiting for the weatherman.
Okay, anybody else splitting? It's gonna be soon. Yep.
Soon.
Yep. Well, I was in my hives yesterday on Sunday, and I had one that was so strong that I split it right there on the spot. Okay, so the only thing I made sure was that I just did a walk-away split, just like we talked about, and put one box in one area and one box in the other, and put an extra box on top of each one of them, and look for a frame with eggs for each one of them, and notched it, which if you've ever heard of notching, you just find the size of the larva that you want them to make a queen out of, and just notch the bottom third of that cell out, and they may or may not build a queen cell there. But they know what to look for, and they know what you want, so maybe they will. And I just left them with 2 or 3 notches per section, knowing full well that one of them has a queen. So now I'll take part of that back, because I did that with about 3 of the ones I had split last month with those queen cells that didn't work. So I also found frames of eggs for all of those, and did the same thing, notching them, and put it in their hives. So you'll find some pretty strong hives out there, I think. I know the one that I just did a walk-away split, there were so many bees in there, they were clustered on the outside already. So if you've got bees clustered on the outside, you know it's time to split. Let's see. I'm trying not to feed them I still have the sugar boards on, mainly because they're probably, if they have the sugar boards on in my house, that means they don't have a lot of honey in there. But So I want them to eat those up. But at the same time, I'm gonna get it off here within the next 2 weeks because I don't wanna harvest honey that's just sugar. So I wanna make sure that my honey is a little bit, it's not diluted with sugar. Mickey, are you doing anything different?
I'm taking sugar boards off right now.
Okay,
They're eating so much out of them that they're building comb inside the sugar board, so
well, that's what I had too.
that's, they gotta go.
Yeah, those are the ones that got their sugar boards taken off, that's correct. You know, there she is, there. Okay, so in any case, if you've got white comb sticking up the top of the, out of the sugar board, then you know it's time to do something with that hive, because it's stronger than it, stronger, and if you want to split it, this is the time to do it. Right before the major flow, and the major flow's head is here. You know, they're going out and getting every little flower they can find. So, let's see. April housekeeping suggestions. Let's see. What else am I doing? Trying to stay dry. I guess that's the main thing. Because otherwise you go out there and it just rains on you. Anybody got some suggestions for housekeeping duties right now? Help me out here. Mickey?
Well, have boxes ready to add on. You better have them standing by with frames in them. Just about everybody I went into Sunday afternoon and got a box put on. They were that crowded.
Do you checkerboard your frames?
No. I take one frame of bees out of the top box and put it in the middle of the new box and move that empty down into that place, and away they go.
Okay. Okay, some people will checkerboard that box that's right on top of most of the brood.
Well, they'll bring in so much nectar in the next few weeks, they'll build comb without having to do that. But in the summer, when there's not as much nectar, you benefit from checkerboarding, and you control where they build the comb then. But they'll build it anywhere. Look in your checkerboard, you can see it. They'll build comb anywhere right now there's space.
On my sugar board.
You still have sugar boards on?
I took my last one off today, it was full of comb. They really I messed it up. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually mess it up with drone comb too. But, yeah, I pulled a medium frame out of a deep box and found a beautiful batch of drone comb. And every beehive I got into yesterday was full of drones. So they are getting ready.
Does anybody use those drone cells, you know, the
I was gonna
frames?
ask about that.
Does anybody here ever used them?
We got two of them, I just put it in, so, like yesterday.
Okay, you can report back on that. I just wondered, do they really?
I've heard they work pretty good because they're a little bit bigger than the regular size things. And the queen is looking for a place to lay drone cells, she'll go right to, is what I've understood, you know.
Those of you who use it, I'd be curious to know, because someone just told me about it too. It's green foundation and they're bigger cells.
Yeah, they're green frames.
Yeah.
Where did you put it in the hive?
But if you put in a frame of wax foundation, they'll do the same thing. They'll build drum comb on it.
And I can vouch for the fact that they'll do it right below a medium frame in a deep box. Ask me how I know, right? So they will do it there. Actually, it's quite pretty, and I was going. Somebody asked me to take pictures. I was going to take a picture of that, and I said, no, I better not. Anyway, we've had some people get some swarms too, haven't we? Well, I'm going to let them talk about their swarm catching abilities, and then we'll have Tracy come up. How's that, Tracy? Okay. So who's got a swarm already? Oh my gosh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. Yeah. So let's start with you. How's that swarm?
Well, we
Where
just,
did it go? How did it do it? How far was it up?
that's a good question. That's a good question. And Chris was out yesterday morning and he was looking at all the hives and he came back in because he kept saying, it's gonna swarm, I know it's gonna swarm. And 2 hours later, he came back in and he's like, they're on the blackberry bushes. So, yeah, we had a really big one. You tell what happened too.
Yeah, so
But he's
And
gonna
I-
talk about it later, so.
actually it was kind of like listening to Mickey because we had, 3 days of bad weather where they're all stuck in. I said, and it was a big hive, so I knew it was gonna happen, or I expected it to, and expected it to happen yesterday when it did because it was the first sunny day we've had, and yep, they flew right onto
A blackberry
A
bush.
blackberry
and
bush.
we have a scion.
Yeah. But, so yeah, there was
They did
a,
not go on the scion.
so they were 20 feet away from it though, so,
They went on the stickery, difficult to get into blackberry bushes.
yeah, but,
By the way, we've got.
If you want
we've got
bees to
another
do
swarm
what
day
you want
coming
them
up
to do,
Thursday.
you might not wanna be a beekeeper.
yeah,
We got another swarm day coming up Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Thursday, they'll be out Thursday, so keep your
Yeah.
eyes out for that.
Oh, yeah, they like the sun, because they got poop all over my truck. I want the truck to go in.
Yeah, it's too late for me to get someone to chop those trees down out in front of the hives. They'll be 35 feet up by Thursday. But luckily, I think I split enough of them. But in any case,
We didn't have a swarm, we caught a swarm.
oh, it's not yours.
Now,
It is.
That's good.
It was in someone's backyard in Smyrna.
Down in Smyrna. 2 years in a row I've called
Should we
them.
go?
Well, right before this meeting, Tyler called me and said, there's someone in Brentwood with bees on the bush.
Yeah.
Bell Mead, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Oh,
he says, I'm in
there's-
the office, and I know his office is a
Oh,
little different
yesterday,
than most of
yeah,
our
there was
offices.
one Bellevue yesterday.
Yeah, Tyler texted yesterday.
Oh, the same bush?
I don't know, it was in Bell Mead, he texted me.
Mm.
And I was on my way across plains to check swarm threats up there. It's going the wrong way.
Might I ask what plant is it? You plant a few in our yard?
Anybody else? Got a swarm story?
Ours went into a blackberry shrub too.
Must be the thing.
Was,
Yeah.
I called Mickey, I'm like, we have a swarm, what do we do?
Get a box.
We got really lucky, Eric saw it, I wouldn't have noticed it. It was about 20 feet from the hives maybe, 3 feet off the ground. They were very generous with us for our first swarm.
It was nice.
Just snipped it right out and dropped it in the box.
That sounds like a Suzanne Hill story, you know, put my big girl panties on and I went out and got it.
Put my big girl gloves on and went out and got it. Panties weren't gonna help, it was the gloves. Just saying.
Well, let's all count how many we get on Thursday. Let's see, anything else more about swarms? Well, we're gonna have Chris talk later about what to do after capturing a swarm, so I'll let him do that, but I would like to get Tracy up here. Tracy Finnegan is TBA's North Middle Regional Vice President. She's looking for a volunteer. She'll tell you all about it. She'll also tell you about the $400 allotment that we have per club and some other things that are going to happen with TBA with this new administration. And I think you'll be excited to learn some of the things she's going to talk about. Tracy, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, good evening.
Wait a minute, you get to take this.
Okay. Which one, the glasses? I need both, the glasses and... All right.
Magical microphone.
Might just put it, yeah. I didn't think about that.
Can you hear me? Did it work? Is it working? Maybe I'll hold it, I'll hold it.
There you go,
Okay.
it's better.
All right, so again, my name is Tracy Finnegan. I've been keeping bees for about 9 or 10 years. I kind of lost count. And so anyways, and I've been kind of a member of the North Middle Tennessee Club. I'm the president, which means I drew the short stick like 8 years ago, and I get the key and let everybody in. So we're pretty kind of low key and just sit around and talk about bees. And then I went to the conference and I helped out a little bit, and they said, well, we need a VP in this region. I'm like, okay, the conference was fun, I'll do it. Then by the way, what do I do? And so since then I've been to, there's 9 clubs from Livingston to Dixon. You're number 6, no 7, so I have 2 more. And so it's been actually kind of fun. I've learned so much about TBA. I've met so many people. And so I'm going to give a recap of the board meeting, March 3rd. Have you done that?
No,
Just a
go
brief
ahead.
recap. Okay, so we meet twice a year as TBA. We send delegates to the meetings, and we vote on various things. And so we approve minutes. And we actually, there's 2 allotments that TBA's never done before, and we approved $2,500 for a regional fall event and $400 per club for supplies, hive kits, educational materials, promotional materials. Your president should have received kind of a guideline and what's it for. What's not on the list, you may think of something we haven't thought of to put on the list, but what's not on the list or excluded is any kind of medication or bees or a queen. You know, it's just perishable. You'd hate to spend your $400 on bees and they die the next day. So that was just kind of that mindset. So anyway, so look that over, you guys decide. As long as, I found out today, I was on a meeting, that's why I don't Zoom and drive at the same time in traffic and in the rain. And so they mentioned that you need to have, be included, have at least 6 members as of in the spring that were members of TBA. So I'm sure you do.
Do we have
So-
6 members of TBA?
That have been members? Okay, I'm
We're good.
sure. Like, again, I didn't, just found that out. So participating eligible clubs. And so you get $400. So decide how you want to spend that, and the time frame is like March 3rd, the day that we approve this, through the 31st of October is when like the receipts are to be dated and stuff. So have fun spending your money, and let me know if you have any questions. So this regional event, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Let me finish. We also allotted $750 for a Zoom license for TBA. Your club can use it. You know, I thought, well, COVID's over, but we may want to bring in some big speaker and you know, and Zoom it and just have someone. So normally you're cut off in 40 minutes, and everyone has to like get back on, and you lose half the people. So there you go.
Yeah.
And as far as losses throughout the state, it was kind of either end of the spectrum, heavy losses and then no losses. So a lot of new beekeepers didn't lose any bees, so that was good.
Good.
The highlights, who went to the TBA conference? It was awesome. Yeah, I thought I saw some familiar faces. So it was positive, upbeat. We had those panels, you know, Q&As. Mike Studer and Phil Kraft talked about regulations and inspections, and they really just answered questions. The Bee Inspiring stories, you know, Be Inspired, those were good. They were sprinkled throughout, so I thought that was great. Who went to the networking? We had 30 minutes of networking as a region, and they said, okay, go find others in your region. They sent us to a location. There was about 20 to 25 of us. We began to talk about this event and just meet each other. And so anyway, so that was beneficial, I think, just to meet people from our region. And the region goes from Livingston to Dixon. So, and it's, I guess, north of 40 or just north. So anyway, so that's our region. And so as a club, I don't know how long y'all have been members. I think I've been, like I said, 9-10 years. TBA has kind of been through some bumps, right? And so I decided, okay, if I'm going to take this on, I came up with a vision for this region, a fresh reach. So 2022, it's going to be a fresh reach to support you in getting involved, find fresh new ideas and ways to engage members, attract new members, maybe re-engage prior members, encourage people to keep bees, reach out to local communities. Beekeeping used to be passed down from generation to generation, right? It used to be my father kept bees, and now it's, oh, my grandfather kept bees when I was little, and I don't really remember much, and now I want to get into beekeeping. So we're filling that gap as beekeepers. Now let me ask, who has, just to get an idea in the experience in the room, like 0 to 3 years? 0 to 3 years, okay. And then let's say 3 to 10 years, and then over 10. Right, so that's pretty standard to all the clubs I've been to, with the exception of Wilson County. They have a lot of it, you know, and so Right, so this is also what's come up is that there's just a few really experienced beekeepers and a lot of newer beekeepers. How do we, there's no room for a one-on-one mentoring, so how do we mentor people in groups? So we're gonna have to just get creative and collaborate. So, and whatever's happened in TBA, there's been a bumpy couple years after we had some really strong leadership, and that is my phone, I'm so sorry.
Do you want to do
It'll
anything?
stop.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So anyways, so it's like time to move on, time to get involved, time to just stay focused on a direction. With COVID, you name it, it's all taken us off task, right? So what's our task is to really focus on the bees and to focus on a direction. So it's this fresh reach. Is it fresh? And is it reaching people? And who is it reaching? So I'm supporting you as a club. Sounds like you guys have an awesome club. And I challenge you to dig a little deeper in this fresh reach. My second goal is to also plan and execute this successful regional conference. And not only the conference, to promote collaboration. We've never worked together as a region before. I would imagine that you haven't really seen a VP visit your club in 8 years.
That's correct.
That's correct, okay. I can talk, so I'm like, oh, I'll just show up to clubs and talk, and then I'll be successful, right? So anyways, but I'm here to really collaborate, promote collaboration, and one of the ideas, like in my club, it's hard to find speakers. So what if we created a committee in this region that's speakers? So if you're just organized, you want to help put together some names, make us a few phone calls to speakers and find out where they'll speak, what do they charge, what's their radius. So let's get a speaker committee together and that resource. So when you need speakers, you can say, I need someone to speak on this topic, splits, who will come to Cheatham County. And so we'll have that. So I want this to be sustaining past this tenure, of 2022. Also, in the communities, like do you have a community hive in this
Yes.
area? Great, most areas don't. I would love to have one in Gallatin or somewhere. So how do you do it? We're gonna tap you.
Those are the damn bees.
Okay, that's right. I've heard all about the damn bees. Okay, all right. So anyways, and your wildflowers, I'm very intrigued by that. So anyways, so how can that works, right? What works about that? Maybe what doesn't work? How can we share that information with someone who wants to start some sort of community hive? So I have just all these, about 5 or 6 different committees. Who's interested in those classes that UT says they're going to have soon for these master beekeepers? Right, I've got a committee. They're raring to go. I think it's going to just populate on the calendar is what's going to happen. But if we can get that information and disseminate to clubs, I've got people interested in taking those classes, and then there's grants beyond that, right? Like, let's get some money in some people's hands, and the people that want to research it, let's take advantage of that, and they'll disseminate it to the rest of us.
What I noticed on those, where these classes were being held, they were all in the east and west. One place in the middle, and that's Spring Hill.
Spring Hill,
So
that's
south.
south. That's not my region. We can't have that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
So we'll get with Jennifer. I mean, she's really busy, and I'm going to work with
Nothing north of 40.
Right, and so I'm going to work with my extension agent, so that'll be the goal. We're going to get one in this region. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but we'll get one in this region. I'm also working on a queen grafting little class or program. So
We've already got people going to Mickey's, and we.
okay, good, awesome. So if you've been to one, let's hear it. And so there's a need for that in the clubs that I've talked to. So those are some of the ideas. I know I've got a couple clubs who have a really good fair. All right, how do you do that? Like, let's pass that information on. So anything that can reach people. Also curriculum. I get asked to talk to school kids. Do you guys do a lot? Who has done presentation to school kids on up to like Rotaries?
We used to do that.
Okay,
We
and
used
so
to-
I'm
that
asked
kicked us out.
all the time, and I can do a PowerPoint, but it probably takes me a while. I do have a graphic designer who's on my committee. And so maybe you have content, right? And then we have these graphic designers or other people that are proficient in these PowerPoints that we can put them all together, create PowerPoints. So if you need a PowerPoint, you're like, hey, I know about bees, but I don't know about PowerPoints. The Rotary wants me to talk. boom, then we can go ahead and get you something in your hands, and then you can go talk to this community, or whether it's school kids. You know, I've taken my observation hive, 2 years old on up, and so how can we make it easier, right? We all have job, like, who has a job who has to support this beekeeping habit you guys have, right? Okay, school is your job. So anyway, so this is all volunteer. How can we divide the load, make it easier, and have people specialize in what they already do, so it's not some second job you didn't want? Which leads me to the conference. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm a visionary, so your guys' jobs is to tell me, no, Tracy, that's not going to work, and that's not going to work, because I want to do it all. And I'd rather have a well-executed event. It doesn't have to be huge, but it will be well-executed. Let's not take on more than what we can do. So far, I've had a lot of good input. I want people in on this venue. You know, first, what are we going to do? Are we going to reach non-beekeepers? You know, beekeepers dig deep. I'm kind of feeling like the 0 to 3 years, 0 to 5 years, where we beekeeper, and we want to like get our hands dirty and get in clubs and practice splits, and you know, and watch someone else inspect a hive. That's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm hearing from clubs. So maybe we'll do a conference/field day. I'd even, like, we could buy 4. I've got someone who will donate 2 nooks. We buy 2 or another or 4, and then we actually do these inspections, splits, etc. right there in these field days, where you sign up for these field events outside. Then we'll give away the hives, you know, to whoever attends, or if we
So
need.
these events are not
Or like a
necessarily a
drawing or
TBA
a
conference.
silent auction.
Well, it's a mini conference, and
A
it is a
mini
one-day event, you know, so I'm just thinking, what if we got we'd have to mentor them, we'd have to manage these hives until the event. I was thinking maybe June. People are telling me I'm crazy. No, we need to do it September, October. So again, venue committee, like, let's pick what we want to do, and then let's go find a venue, you know. I want.
Are you talking about like beginners beekeeping, like beekeeping 101 or something?
Kind of, but that's something also, so we'll have maybe a field day and some classes and a conference. So it'd be a hybrid, so that we can appeal to, I mean, who's been keeping bees 10 years or more? I mean, an inspection in a hive is not really going to keep your attention. But what if we brought in some speaker with some advanced classes? So that's my thought. In why not, you have, and if we do some classroom, like equipment, let's have equipment so people can. I've spent 15 minutes talking with someone who thought they had mediums and they were shallows, or they were confusing the terminology between a frame and a super. I mean, those are the hardest conversations I have, really, is to get that terminology down to where you understand it's a super, it's a frame, it's foundation, it's drawn comb.
Mm-hmm.
So, but some of you, that's way beyond, you know, you want to be challenged more, but that's kind of what I'm picturing, is a conference in a location where we've got some AV equipment so we can have speakers, but we also have outdoor space so we can have some inspections in hives, do some fall splits, do some inspections. That's my thought. And we want to hear, we could go a totally different direction. So I'm looking for one delegate in particular that's going to be on the main committee. There's 9 clubs, so we need 9 delegates plus me, that'll be 10. And then I want all these other committees. I've got a couple artists. Maybe we'll have, like, I would love to have, let's do a honey show. I would love to do a honey show, do honey judging, and let's really get our entries there.
How about wax processing, things of that
Absolutely.
nature? I know a lot of us have got wax sitting around that we just don't know what to do with, you know.
Exactly.
Except
Let's
melt
make
it and
some-
put it right back on the
Right.
foundation.
And so I would love to have wax, you know, like wax products, resources from the hive. What do you do with them? And have some beautiful displays. I've got someone who dyes the wax.
Propolis, yeah.
Propolis, absolutely. Make some tinctures. I mean, I would love that. I would love that. A salve. I mean, so yeah, if you know how to do that, you're officially on the committee for propolis.
No, that's just one of the things that we've
It's
been
something you want to
talking
do,
about.
right? So anyway, so to be on a committee, it's like, this is what I want and this is what I can do. Either one of those even if it's just your idea. So that's my thoughts on the committees. I've got some sign-up sheets. I just want to talk, find out what you want to do. And so I am looking for a delegate, but I'm really looking for more than that. I've probably had about 5 people sign up per club, just to give you an idea, no pressure. No, like, if you're competitive at all. But anyways, or if there's something else you guys do really good, I want to know about it. And let's see if there's some other club that, that just needs help in that manner, or just could use, like, if there's something you've done really well, like your community hives and the wildflower garden. I would love to go talk to HOAs and have them put just a section, instead of these manicured communities that are just a desert for bees. So anyways, that's kind of down the road.
Maybe you should look at their field of flowers before you discuss that.
Or we could do like a fundraiser, like go wash cars or something. That's what my Boy Scouts do.
We could, and we have some money. We have $2,500 to work with. So $25. $25. So anyways, so those are my thoughts. Any
Might
questions?
be able to buy some soap.
Yeah. Any questions about anything?
You said there's 9 clubs?
There are 9 clubs in our region, so we need to
Is that
collaborate.
like 9 different counties?
It's Dixon, Cheatham, Robertson. I'm North Middle Tennessee, which is in Sumner County. Livingston, which is a different, what's the county that Livingston is in? Overton County. Cookville,
Cookville's in there?
Wilson County, NABA, National Area Beekeepers. And you guys, I think that might be 9.
So Three Rivers is not, which is out of Dixon,
Which Dixon is,
but they're called Three Rivers. And
no,
Montgomery County's not in there?
no, that's the next region over. Dixon as far as I go. And Dixon's got some great things going on. I mean, they're bringing in Cayman Reynolds next month, and so I've come to find out my club is the least organized, just saying. But that's okay. This will help me get them a little organized and bring them up to speed. I don't want to take any more time. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to stick around for the meeting, so let's chat. Let's come up with some more ideas.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Let's see. You don't have to hold your hand up, but think about it, I mean, it's a lot different than the TBA we knew before. I think it's with our help and with our encouragement and anybody willing to volunteer a little bit of time, I think it'll be a whole different relationship with TBA than we've had before, which was mostly paperwork. Yeah. Trey?
Chris, how do you join the TBA?
You
can go online and
go
Google.
online to the Tennessee Beekeepers Association and
Okay.
join.
Mhm. It's all online now. It's really easy.
TBA.org or something?
It's Tennessee Beekeepers, I don't know.
Just
I don't know, but if
Tennessee
you
Beekeepers
Google-
Association and it'll come up,
Mhm, if you Google it.
even on Google. And $400 is a nice little chunk of change that I'm sure we can put to good use. In fact, right now, that one of those beehives down at the dam needs a new bee population, so I'm sure that'll might help in that regards as an idea. Okay, we've got one alive and one not, so we'll make sure we have to replenish that hive a little bit. tnbeekeepers.org. I'm glad to see we had a few hands up there that usually we've only had about 2 or 3 in the club. And honestly, mostly because the PBA seemed to be arguing more than they did anything. But I think that's changed with the current administration, which is a good thing to see. See what else I've got on here. I've got one more person that's going to speak for us today. Now, this gentleman is with our club, okay? He has so much experience, and he's gonna talk about what to do with a swarm once you find it.
Amen.
Okay? Although the title is actually what to do after capturing a swarm. So I'm hoping he includes what to do with it before you capture it, because sometimes it can be a little difficult. Just ask me about the 25-foot trees. Okay? Chris,
All right.
take it away. Your turn.
I'll probably be all right.
Pass the mic.
So most of you know me, I'm Heather's husband. She's the boisterous, nice one, I'm the other one. So. And when you make a suggestion, you know, when you're driving home and about what people should talk about, don't do it in front of the person that makes the agenda. So anyway, so that's why I'm here. But anyway, this was a swarm that I caught, or we caught, and this was a early September, late August swarm. And I know, you know, everybody knows the poem about it, but I had an empty hive, so I said, why not? We'll give it a try. And this was a queen that I had bought from you, like in May, so I figured, well, I just bought her, so let's see what we can do. So that's kind of how this one came about. And then over the winter, I took a course through University of Montana. They have a master beekeeping program. You can do it all online. It's an apprentice, journeyman, master beekeeping. It's a really good course. It doesn't count for like the University of Tennessee one, for the grant that you get. But it's a really good course. It's 6 weeks long, and they go through. The instructor uses a lot of the information that I'll show it here by Thomas Seeley, who wrote the Lives of Bees, and that's where I got some of the information from. And the instructor also in here, forget Scott Dearborn, I think his name is. So anyway, so this was the early September swarm, and this is information that Thomas Seeley collected from the upper New York area, state of New York area, over several years on a study he did. And it shows the swarm cycle of the wild honeybee. And he says that you can extrapolate this to just like your regular one. Now, these weren't managed bees, but you can take this as a example probably of what your bees are going to do. So when the colony builds up in the spring, you have the hive, it'll swarm or it won't swarm. But there's the chance of a survival of a hive that does not swarm for a wild group, for a wild hive, is about 81%. But if the hive does swarm, there's an 87% chance that hive is going to swarm. But their chance of survival with the queen, a mated queen, is only 23% in the wild. And then of that 87% of those that do swarm, 78% of those are going to send out a second swarm right away with a virgin queen. But they only have about a 12% survival rate in the wild. And then even though of that 70% that sends a second swarm, they're even going to send a third swarm out. And those 60% of those are going to do that. But they still only have like a 12% survival rate. And there's many reasons for that. You got to think about the normal thing that we go through. The one with 23%, they have the mated queen, but they got to build up a whole new hive. They got to build up wax. They got to build up start a brood cycle. So that's just so even just starting out, they're 21 days to get workers to come out. And then with the second swarm, with the virgin queen, well, they're even more behind because they got to, that queen has to be mated before she can do anything. So they're even more than 21 days behind. They're probably over a month behind. And the same with the third swarm. And then the final one, the hive that gets the virgin queen, that doesn't swarm, that gets to finally take over, they have an percent survival rate also. So you can, this was just a study on wild bees, but you can look at your own hives and kind of think of, are they gonna do the same thing? Or the swarms that you are getting in swarm traps, or the ones that we're being called out on and that are in the trees or in blackberry bushes or whatnot. So which swarm did you catch? I don't know, but maybe there's some clues that you can look at to get them. And the first is the size of the swarm. You know, the first swarm is going to be the largest. And then, like if you're catching them in a swarm trap, then are they bringing in pollen? And so the sooner they start bringing in pollen, they've already got wax in the trap, but then she's more likely to be mated once you start seeing them bring in pollen.
Chris, what's considered large?
Just kind of the size of it, you know. I mean, like you think.
Ours is like the size of a football compared, like what I saw in that tree looked ginormous.
Yeah, so that was most likely that was a mated queen.
3
But when
basketballs.
they're like little like that,
Uh-huh.
it's probably a second swarm that split off.
Yeah, where'd the first one go? Yeah.
You missed the
Yeah,
first one.
yeah, you missed the first one.
Evan.
So what do you do now? So this is mostly for like if in the swarm traps. So you watch and you wait, and you're watching and you're watching for them to bring in pollen if they're in the swarm trap. Because you got to figure they've already swarmed. If they haven't established a home yet, well, they'll just might leave again. And plus, if you did catch a virgin swarm and you're moving it prior to that queen, you know, is she out mating? Then you're taking them away. There's no eggs in there. They can't build another hive if you've moved her hive from her. And so the best thing to do is to wait until you can start seeing pollen come in. So when you see the pollen coming in, you know, and they're in a trap, then it's time to move.
Can I get a quick question? Okay.
Sure.
How many of you have swarm traps up already? Okay, so this is what you'll be
Kinda
looking
left
for.
ours out.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
You bet. So when the pollen's coming in, then you're ready to go, most likely. And then here's some things you might want to consider with anyone you're catching, whether it's out of a blackberry bush or with your trap. And the first is to add a frame of brood. And these aren't, you know, set rules or anything like that. But when you add a frame of brood, you know, you're giving them a reason to stay. And plus you're giving them some resources. They're gonna start coming out with new bees. Now if it's a large swarm, it won't matter that much. But if it's not, if it's just a little swarm with a virgin queen, then you know, they're gonna be getting more resources out, and they'll have honey already there and pollen to start their new cycle. And then something to consider is treating for mites. And it kind of depends on the time of year. So like this, with the early ones, you know, the mite counts in most of the hives aren't up anyway. But if it's a later swarm, and you don't necessarily maybe know why they swarmed, maybe it wasn't a swarm, maybe it was a hive that absconded, and they absconded because of mites, you know, so they're just dragging all those mites along. You might want to consider treating them before, but you probably would want to only treat them with something like an oxalic acid, a vapor, because something with the other ones where like it's one of the thymol or anything like that, it'd probably be too rough for either a virgin queen or the new brood that they're trying to bring up anyway. But you got to figure it's an automatic brood break, so it's something to consider is the treatment. So they don't have any capped brood in there, so all the mites would just be on the bees, so it would be a good time to do it. And then another thought is to replace the queen.
Off with her head.
Yep, off with her head. Because one, like this one from that very first slide, I mean, I knew that it was a new queen. So I wasn't going to replace her. So, you know, she was only a couple months old. But others you might not know. And it might be, depending on the time of year, fall's not necessarily a bad time to replace queens anyway. But from what we learned at the last meeting, from Jenna's presentation with, queens being old at a year and a half or 2 years, then, and you don't know what you got, it might be a good time to replace the queen. And also for temperament, you don't know what you got. So if you have a wild bunch of bees that are kind of bopping you in the head or getting a little crazy, you can replace the queen, then you're kind of getting to know what you have a little bit better. So I think that's it. And most of the information in here came from the course I took, but also from a Thomas Cecily book, and he was the author of Lives of Bees, but he's written other books. And I read the Lives of Bees, and I've read some of his other stuff too, and I think he's one of the better authors and better researchers out there. And then Scott Dedman, he was the instructor at the University of Montana that some of this information came from also. So that's it.
It's always better when other people talk.
Chris, don't forget to do, Jen, do you want to do treasurer report too?
Yep.
Just the-
Treasurer report, please.
Sorry, I don't know if that's where you're going.
It was way up here and I was.
Do we need to do a vote on that?
No, let's just leave it. We'll work it out.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm happy to report we got 5 online renewals. So those of you who are using our online system, fantastic, we'll leave that up there. And our current balance of our account is, well, mostly current, about $4,500 is what we have in our account. And Trey had asked last month what our expenses were, and I didn't really know, but I have a better sense now. So we have, I think I mentioned the Christmas dinner and the picnic. We also pay the church, so that was another expense that I didn't have on my radar that we pay as well. So that's part of it.
We don't have this year?
No, we haven't. It's on my radar. And then we also have $320 in Mike's memorial fund. So, we're thinking about ideas for that. Even if you didn't contribute to it, we're looking for ideas. So, some things we threw around was a bench with the damn bees was an idea. Supporting the pollinator garden.
Have you priced benches?
No, I was hoping someone might be handy and help us.
Well, we got some wood.
I also somebody brought up, it wasn't me, but I liked it a lot. Somebody suggested donating somehow to Colby's Army because he was a huge proponent of supporting them. And so it was an idea, and I thought, oh, Mike would probably really latch onto that too.
Yeah, so we're just.
The master gardeners are doing a pollinating garden in honor of Mike down there.
At Colby's Army?
The Colby's Army.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
what you could do is if you, let's say if we priced out a bench, which I kind of like the idea for people to sit and watch other people work the bees sometime, and whatever money we have left over, we could donate it to Colby's Army as a pollinator, for their pollinator garden.
Sure.
We could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, as it were.
Well, if you have ideas, throw them our way. We're not attached to anything, but want to make sure we honor him and get that money put somewhere rather than sitting in an envelope. So maybe if we don't hear from anyone, we'll make some recommendations next month, and we can collectively make that decision together since he was a part of the group. Yes.
Wait, can I make a suggestion right now? How about like a fundraiser? Because, well, me and my fellow Boy Scouts, we've done fundraisers in the past. Like we've done like car washing and stuff to help pay for our
Well, the good news is we have
summer
money.
camp.
We have money in the fund, so we don't even have to, we could spend money without even having to do a car wash, unless you want to do one. We can start at our house.
Well, well, it could help pay for the $125 for the UT Master Beekeeping class. If maybe people don't want to spend as much money, they could help
Yeah.
with that.
Yes, maybe later in the summer when it's warmer and your shoulder's repaired and you can wash cars.
Yes.
Great. Any other, I had one other thing I wanted to bring up. Robin sent to me, so I just wouldn't pass it on, is the Cheatham County Cattlemen's Association is having their annual steak dinner auction on April 30th at 5:30. So that came to us through the UT Extension Office, and one of the things we're looking at is how to partner with them a little more this year, so I'm just passing that on behalf of the UT Extension Office. So, don't know a thing about it, but if you're interested.
They usually have it in Pleasant View at the stable. Isn't that where they used to have it there, the livery stable?
It's at the church.
This is at Ashland City Church.
Oh, now it's at the church this time?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
5:30, April 30th, $30. I have no idea what that gets you, but you can check it out. Steak dinner. And I bet hopefully it's good steak since it's the Cattlemen's Association.
You get to meet a lot of cattlemen.
One would hope.
You get to meet a lot of cattlemen who sell their cattle,
Yeah.
you know, for
So there's,
your freezer.
there is that. So if anyone knows anything else more about it,
And the way food may be going in the future here,
Yeah, those would be
if
good
all the
friends
warnings
there.
are to be held, you know, you might need someone to buy a half a cow or a quarter of a cow or something like that.
yeah, so there you have it. That's my report.
Thank you. Very good.
Yes.
What did I miss?
Nothing, I don't think you did. Yeah.
All right, we've got one more thing, and that's, we've got a few items in the back for door prizes. Okay, and I'll come over here and tell you what they are. Okay, looks like we've got some blue basil from Mickey. And don't forget to get your M&Ms.
Those are homemade.
No, those are
Peanut M&Ms.
I worked really hard on it.
And if you have extra equipment that you just don't want, or you're gonna clean it up, why don't you bring it in for a door prize? Because the more new beekeepers we get, the better off, the more they're gonna need to have a little support to get started. So some of these things that we pick up, like at estate sales and things like that, might be good for getting our new beekeepers supplied. Got somebody who wants you to mark your queens. You've got a yellow marker and a little queen catcher right here. Okay.
It was all the
And
stuff that we got.
You got a bucket, but you don't know what to do with it. You cut a hole in it and make it a honey bucket. So this is called a gate, honey gate. We've got 3 items, so somehow we're gonna have to pull
We have an
things out of
idea.
the hat.
We have an idea. We're gonna number everybody who's here, and then someone will randomly pick numbers. And then they could be winners. How about that?
That's right.
Okay, we're just gonna number you real
That's
quick.
great, because I was gonna pass it on to you anyway.
Yes, please.
No, I already had it come, thank you.
How many numbers we need?
Well, there's 6 basil plants, I think. 6 or 8. How many did you bring, Mickey? Okay, 6, 7, 8 items, because whoever brought the queen marker decided to put the pen with it.
He got missed. Okay, so when someone reads you a number, you should have a winner. Get someone gives you numbers.
Who's gonna give me a
So
number?
between what and what?
Oh, sorry. Oh, you wanna know that high end, huh? How about between 1 and 16?
1 and 16.
Do the sheep
Shout out
also.
between 1 and 16.
7.
Number 7, the winner is
For a basil plant. Oh, they get to choose.
Oh, it's the handwritten one in there.
Connie Brown.
All right.
Yay, Connie! Those are awesome plants.
All right, you get to pick whatever you want. Someone else shout out a number.
One before you go too fast here. Those basil plants, most of us will put them, I put them around the edge of my garden because they're the only thing that blooms in August, you know, and the bees love them. They're all over them in August.
They do really well. Yeah, we love them.
And I'm sure he has others in his greenhouse if he needs to sell them, don't you, Mickey? Yeah. You did save me a couple flats, didn't you? All right, next number.
Lloyd, shout out a number.
13. lucky number must
All
be
the way
me.
over on page 2. Mike and Christy Davis.
All right, Christy, you call out a number.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's 1 through 16.
1 through 16. 3.
3.
Carolyn Borum.
Woo!
All right, Carolyn, call out a number between 1 and 16.
11.
11.
Marlon Chapman.
All right, Marlon, call out a number.
3.
We already had
We
3.
had 3. Pick another one.
2.
Brady. Brady James.
Brady.
The honey gate.
Right. All right, name a number.
Pick out a number.
Between 1 and 16,
Yeah.
I'm saving the top.
13. Has that been taken?
Yeah.
14.
Number 14 is Robin.
Yeah.
Call out a number.
M&M's. Yes.
Call out a number, Robin.
11.
There was
We
said.
got 11 now.
Everybody got 11? Yeah.
What are the odds?
10.
Are someone really listening?
Jennifer.
Sweet.
Jennifer.
It's always 5.
Chris and Heather Banks. Now, you guys count as 2, really.
Yeah,
All right.
You know.
we'll share the
It's
plant.
gonna share it with the bees. That was a great way to, quick recovery for this.
All right, that works well.
Do we have any questions of anything you're doing right now? Or any questions? When's the rain gonna stop? I don't know.
Thursday.
Thursday, watch the swarms.
So watch for swarms, and we'll get a swarm report.
Yes.
Here's an idea for you. Swarm traps. Our club got together and built 35 swarm traps and use them in the club. If they want one, they're allowed to use them for that year, and then we just keep track of where they are. So the group's been pretty good about it.
All right.
Get your other arm fixed and your collarbone.
Oh, Chris, next month too, we have a speaker, if you want to say.
Yeah, who is it?
So, we have the, she knows, she just forgot. We have the person, her first name is Jessica. She spoke at the conference, she is the founder of Honeybee, Honeybee, Tennessee. Yes, Jessica
Yeah,
Dodds.
you need a driver's license. I mean, the tag's on the back of your car.
Right, and she is going to come, and not only is she going to tell you about how it's a really great story, how she came up with the whole nonprofit idea and how when you get those specialty tags, where the money goes, and the money actually, she gives away grants for going into schools and starting up pollinators.
So you telling her whole speech now?
Yes.
It's a tough crowd, man.
It's a tough crowd, yes.
I bet you she does a better job.
Oh, we're praying
No,
excited to be here next month.
The other person.
Now we know it.
You gotta come here. My point, Lloyd, my point was that she's going to talk about how you can start with the money in the schools, how they actually want bee hives in the schools. So if you were thinking about coming next month, it'd be a really good month to come, because she's one of the people who's done it.
We did try bees in hives in schools. We had some at the high school.
Okay.
That didn't work out too well.
All right.
So, and I don't
These are
know,
the kids.
I don't.
We used to go and to teach the elementary kids.
Yeah, we had a great
program.
skit where all the kids were given assignments, like this one's a queen, this is a drone, this is the guard at the door of the hive.
The whole
room became involved in it. If you're a worker bee, you're going out, you're picking up honey, or you're picking up forager. If you're a forager, you go out and you pick up some pollen, or you go out and you pick up some nectar, and then you come back to the hive.
Does someone have that presentation somewhere?
No, we just came up with it.
You just, I love it.
We
I
just
love
had, we had little dots stuck to people, you know, pollen.
Yeah, and the pot,
And
we
they
had
had-
artificial, flowers, and somebody had Velcro glitter things, and that, they have to go get that, bring it back to the hive.
You guys need to write that
And
down.
then somebody
so
would be a
it's-
wasp or something, and the guards would have to do their thing.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal, yeah. We
And then they
did,
told
The
us,
principal.
yeah,
comes
with,
in.
I think I had four-year-olds, and then they all came up with their own waggle dance, and they could do whatever they wanted, then they showed their waggle dance to
there's the
different
word.
groups, yeah.
there you go.
So we need to come up with a couple different, like, curriculum, I mean, that's a little curriculum for,
They would like,
there you go. What is your name? Robin.
You tried to retire from secretary, from treasurer, now look at,
You got a committee
now
position.
you're a committee person.
no, I didn't.
Yeah, you just I'm sorry, you didn't hear that part? Thank you, Robin. You just
Is
had so
anybody
much
else
go for it,
interested
the
in
spirit of
something
Mike.
happened?
Yeah, I guess I
Tracy
could,
out?
I'll presentate at my school.
Presentate at your school?
Yeah. You guys, like, get some middle schoolers involved, like, I'm going to high school next year, so
No.
hopefully maybe get some high schoolers.
I don't know, they're a little harder to teach.
Yeah.
I like, oh, the younger the better.
Yeah. Get them into it early.
Anybody else got some questions?
There are sign-up sheets over here. She's.
There's sign-up
Tracy.
sheets over here,
Oh,
so if you
I'll
don't want to
come
talk
find
to
you.
us about it, you know, please give them a hand. You know, we'll be offering it again next month. I'm sure we'll try and, just give me a breakdown of all you said. I'll try and repeat it again next month.
Tracy,
When it's,
Yes.
maybe when
just
it's
so
Sunday.
everybody would have an idea, because they're gonna jump up and volunteer. How often would you be meeting, or would it be Zoom?
Oh, it'll definitely
How
be
much
a
time would it
Zoom.
take?
It'll be a Zoom. My goal is to have a venue committee and then 5 or 6 people. We'll just talk about venues and you go on Zoom. Then there's the 9 delegates. It'll be some Zoom. I'm not into Zoom calls. I'm not into long meetings. We're gonna keep it short, have, you know, and I'll be on the different committees, but the goal is like the 9, I want to divide it up into people who have areas of expertise that advise the 9 is kind of my, like, you know, I want a few people who know how to put together a program on a committee. And so it's going to be a tad informal, but I need the 9, 1 delegate each is really going to disseminate the information, but really to not have just 9 people plan a conference. It's, let's find out what your area is, and then but I really need some, you know, some input on the venue, some input on, then once we decide what we're gonna do to plan it, you know, all the logistics of it, who's good at that, just, it's gonna be, they're gonna be brainstorming sessions, is what they are. And then, how many people do we think we're gonna have, you know, do we charge, like making those decisions. So my goal is for it to be a fun brainstorming session. This is not anyone telling us what we want to do. What's limiting us is us, like our ideas, and then how can we implement it. And so it's going to have to be fluid. It's not carved in stone, because the people on, maybe the venue committee may just need to talk once or twice, go visit a couple venues, and you're done. You know, then the program committee, once we've defined what we're going to do, then they're going to kind of pick it up, and I think it's going to gear up the 2 months prior, 3 months prior, you know, once we, okay, you know, do we have something for newer beekeepers in this slot? Do we have something to challenge existing beekeepers in this slot? And to kind of, the more eyes and ears, and that can poke holes. And we're gonna have food trucks. We're not doing food and box lunches and with hard bread. You know, I'll do food trucks. And so if you know, have a lead on a food truck, you're on the food committee. You know, that's kind of my thing, and let's just divide it up. So it's just gonna be more brainstorming, idea sessions, and then we'll come up with the idea, and then we'll put all the pieces together.
When will it be?
We don't know. So I feel like September, October, I've got one possible venue that's actually, it's a private school, that's in Robertson County, it's centrally located, and we need it off of 40 or off of 65. And maybe a school down in Donaldson-ish or Mount Juliet, there's another school there. So, I don't know, then we'll have to visit these schools and just figure out the logistics. And a school, we may have to, if it's in the fall, then we'll have to deal with their fall break. Because we typically, the private school, they can't do it during school session. That's why it's either June or fall break. So even if you have ideas like, yes, that's a great idea, or no, it's not, you will not hurt my feelings. Like, if it's not a great idea, tell me and we'll like squash it. Or we may have something that's a great idea that we can't fit this year, that I imagine we're gonna go back to a fall big conference. It makes sense. TBA will have a fall conference. What are we gonna do in 2023? We might do these regionals again or something else again. So if we don't use the idea this time, we'll find a home for it. Like this school, this idea right here, I wanna know more about it. I think it's brilliant, and someone may speak to a school and I can at least give them a sheet of paper that says, here's what someone did before. And that's kind of my idea, same thing with the conference. That make sense?
Okay.
Any other questions? So we'll talk as little or as much as you want on these Zooms, but I vote for as little as possible. So anyways.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned.